Hi and welcome back to the channel. Well, if it's your first time here, my name's Andrew, and if it's not your first time here, it's still Andrew, and thanks for coming back and joining me for another video. So today I'm going to be looking at something called cruise control for the DJI Neo 2, and for some reason it's not set up by default. It's hidden away in the settings on your controller, so you do need to actually activate it before you can use the feature itself. Now, cruise control is a really versatile and possibly one of the best features you've got on the DJI Neo 2 after the automated flight controls, because it allows you to set the drone off on a particular path, whether or not it's going forwards, backwards, ascending, descending or rotating. Press a button and it's going to lock that course into the drone, so you're going to get some really nice smooth cinematic footage from your DJI Neo 2. But unfortunately, unlike on other drones like the DJI Mini 4 Pro or the Mini 5 Pro, it doesn't allow you to lock in the gimbal control. So you're still going to have to manage the gimbal itself, but it is going to be a lot easier because the drone's taking care of everything else. So it's only the movement of the gimbal you need to worry about if you are changing the way that the gimbal's looking. Now, using cruise control is always best if you're using it in low wind conditions. But if you are flying in conditions which are not ideal, it's still going to benefit from cruise control, because it means the drone is going to lock onto the path that you've set and it's going to keep nice and smooth along that path. You will get the wind buffeted in, but it's not going to be as noticeable as it would be if you're flying manually. So that's another reason to use cruise control on your DJI Neo 2. And then finally, another great feature they brought in with the cruise control option is it allows you to actually layer up the different commands. So you haven't got to worry about flying the drone in all the directions at the same time. You can set it off, for example, going forward at a specific speed, choose the cruise control, and then have it to ascend, update the cruise control, and then have it to rotate and update it a third time. So you can do everything along with the cruise control in nice, easy stages to get the exact shot that you're trying to get. And then finally, once you finish the cruise control options, you just need to press the X on the side of the controller, and that's going to take the drone out of that cruise control mode. Or you can just press the home button and then it's going to stop and come back to you when you finish flying. Now, another thing you can do with the cruise control option is create a hyperlapse. Now, hyperlapses are available on other drones like the DJI Mini 4 Pro and the Mini 5 Pro, but it's not available on the DJI Neo. But we can use cruise control to get that effect directly from the drone anyway. Now, obviously, this can be of any situation you're in. It can be traffic, it can be people, it can be waves on the beach, but you do need something with a lot of movement to get the best out of hyperlapse. So it's just a matter of moving the drone slowly as possible. So I suggest you go into cine mode in a specific direction and then pressing the C2 button or whichever button you got for the cruise control to be activated, and then let the drone do its thing for an entire battery. So the longer you do a flight in cruise control is going to give you a better result when it comes to doing a hyperlapse. So as I said, DJI have hidden away the cruise control options within the settings of the controller itself. So I'll go through now exactly how to set it up on your RCN3 or your RC2. So there are a few changes we need to make on the controller itself before we start using cruise control. And the first one we need to do is going to be the grid lines. Now, grid lines will give you a visual representation on the screen of your controller of either two vertical and horizontal lines, a central point or some diagonal lines. And they're going to help you in positioning your drone facing the exact way that you want it to go, ready for framing your shot. So the first thing we need to do is do your camera settings. So we need to press the three buttons on the top right hand side of the screen. Now from here, we're going to select camera, and then you can see that you've got three options for the grid lines. So for me, I only tend to use the horizontal and the vertical bars and the central point. I don't tend to use the diagonals because where they cross in the middle is going to be where your central point is anyway. So I don't see the point in having all three on and just cluttering up the screen. Now, these lines only appear on the screen controller. They don't actually go onto the film itself, so you haven't got to worry about anything spoiling your footage. So next, we want to make sure that we got our obstacle avoidance set up correctly. Now, you can either do this by pressing the little red icon on the top of the screen, and that's going to bring up the options for bypass, brake or off, or you can go into the safety settings on the controller again by pressing the three buttons on the top right and choosing safety. And depending on where you are, it's going to depend on which obstacle avoidance settings you want to use. Obviously, if you've got plenty of room, you want to set it to bypass so the drone can just continue around whatever it is you're trying to film. If you're more restricted, you may want to set it to brake so it stops, and then you can retrieve the drone back and carry on filming when you're ready. Then also under safety, you've got the options for your return to home altitude. So make sure that's set correctly, that you've got enough clearance between the drone and the highest structure in the area, so you don't run into any problems with that. And also have it set so that if you do lose signal for any reason, the drone is going to come back to you and not hover in place. And that can be dealt with via the advanced settings on the very bottom of the screen. And the final thing we need to do is actually set up the cruise control options, because you do need to customize the buttons on your controller in order for cruise control to be activated. So once again, we need to press the 3 buttons on the top right hand side and go under control and then scroll down to where it says button customization. Now when you go into button customization, depending on what controller you're going to have an option to either set the FN or function button or the C1 and C2 buttons if you're using the RC2 controller. So I'm going to set the auto exposure on and off to the C1 button. So this means I can lock the exposure when the drone's flying, so I'm not going to get any harsh exposure changes as the drone's going along its path. And then I'm going to set the C2 button to actually activate the cruise control itself. So those are the only 3 settings you need to do to get cruise control actually activated on the drone. So now I'm going to go down the beach and I'll go through with you exactly how it works and give you some examples and some best tips for using cruise control on your new DJI Neo 2. Okay, so I'm down the beach, so I'm going to stop and take this opportunity to say, if you find it useful so far, if you could do the like and subscribe thing, that would be great. I'm lucky today because there's no wind, it's -1 degree, so I'm still in shorts, but hopefully if I can get up to 3,000 subscribers, I'll be able to earn some money from YouTube to afford a proper pair of long trousers. So if you could do the like and subscribe thing, that would be great. So the plan is I'm going to put the drone up, I aim it down to the bottom of the pier, and then I'm just going to initiate the cruise control. So you can see now I've lined up the bottom of the pier, so the first thing I'm going to do is lock in my exposure by doing the C1 button. I've got it in normal mode and I'm just going to move it forward, and as it clicks in forward I'm going to put on the cruise control, and you can see now that the drone's going off and I'm not doing anything, but it's still constantly going down, as you can see, in a nice smooth path with no input from me. Right, so now I'm going to stop that. So that's just a basic one action of cruise control, just going in one direction, locking in cruise control, so it's going to continue along that path. As I said earlier, we can stack the levels, so I'm going to bring the drone back now and give you an example of that. So what I'm doing now, I've got the drone set further down the beach facing the prom, so I'm going to have it travel to the left. And then as it's doing that, I'm going to lock in the cruise control. So now, in addition to that, I'm going to have the drone to start to rise up. And you can see the cruise speed's been updated, and you can see the height is moving 10, 11, 12 meters. So the drone is actually starting to rise as it's going along. So that should give you a nice reveal shot of the area that I'm living. And again, you can see there's no input from me. The drone is just going off, continuing at the speed, you can't see that in the sun, continuing at the speed of 3 meters a second whilst rising at 9 meters a second. Now if I want to increase that raise, all I need to do is just push up on the stick, so it's rising faster, press the cruise control button again, and then it's going to carry on rising at that new set speed. And now I'm just going to bring it back. So I just press on the X or the home button.
Return to home.
And the drone's coming back to me now. Just a quick tip, if you are flying in cold weather, is try and keep the batteries warm. So if you keep the batteries in your pocket, in a coat or something, so they're more of a body temperature, you're going to get better performance from the battery when you're out flying the drone, and you may get a few extra seconds of flight time rather than when the battery's cold. So just bear that in mind if you are flying in cold conditions. Now, as I said earlier, if you're a beginner to drone flying, it can be quite difficult to coordinate everything you want to do at the same time. So for example now I'm going to just fly the drone out, so the drone's going to take care of the forward momentum, and then I'm just going to control the gimbal, and that will give me a nice smooth pan up as well, so I haven't got to worry about controlling too much at once. Right, so I'm just going to set the drone off on the beach and have the gimbal facing down. So I'm just going to concentrate on doing the gimbal manoeuvre, and the drone's going to take care of the actual flying. So now I've locked in the cruise control option, so all I need to concentrate on is actually just raising the gimbal up. And then I'm going to get a nice smooth panning effect, and I haven't got to worry about anything else, just looking after the gimbal. So that's giving me a nice smooth pan of going across the beach and raising the gimbal up. Now I did say earlier, when you're flying the drone, to make sure that you're in bypass mode. But when I was on the way down in the car, I suddenly thought to myself, that may not work because the drone is supposed to be on a fixed path. So I'm just going to try out to see exactly what happens if you do have it in bypass mode, and whether or not it is going to bypass you, or whether or not it's going to brake. And I line myself up with a drone there, as you can see, and I put it in cine. Put on to record, and then I'm going to move the drone slowly towards me, initiate cruise control. So the drone's coming towards me now. And then, is it going to bypass me, or is it going to stop? So you can see from that, the drone's not going to go into bypass mode, it's just going to come to a stop. So I'll do the same now if the obstacle avoidance is disabled. So again, it's just going to be locked into the cruise control, and it's not going to stop. So I was wrong earlier, if the drone is in either bypass or brake, it's just going to stop. It's not going to move around anything. If you've got it switched off, it's going to go straight into whatever it is in front of it. So just bear in mind, it is going to stop if it encounters any obstacles. As I mentioned earlier, you can use it for doing hyperlapses. Now, a few things to bear in mind with hyperlapses is, one, that you need movement of a subject, whether or not it's being clouds, traffic, people, that type of thing. You also want to make sure that you use a brand new battery, and you want to film for as long as possible in a specific direction, because you're going to be speeding up the footage in post-production on an app such as DaVinci Resolve or whatever video editing app that you use. Also bear in mind, you need to have the distance set on your controller to something suitable. You don't want it set to 50 meters because you're not going to get enough footage in that distance. So you need it set to several hundred meters or off, but obviously remember that you need to keep the drone in visual line of sight. What I tend to do is, if I am doing one along something like the stretch of beach like this, is that I'll walk behind the drone. So I've always got the drone in sight, and then I can set the settings on the controller to maximum distance, so I'm not going to be limited. Now, unfortunately for me today, it is an absolutely glorious day. There's no wind, but as a result, there's no cloud cover. So my original plan was to film the clouds going down and then speed that up to give you the example of the hyperlapse. So I'm have to show you one that I did a few days ago, but the principle is going to be the same, and I'll demonstrate that now. So the drone's in the air, got my glasses back on. I'm going to switch it over to cine mode, because you need to go as slow as possible. So now I'm going to lock my exposure, and then I'm just going to fly it out as slow and as steady as I can. So it's going 2 meters a second, and then I'm just going to lock that in. And the drone is going to travel very slowly, 2 meters a second in that one direction. And I want to try and do that for as long as the battery's going to last. So you can see I'm down to 88%, and I've only actually gone a distance of 10 meters away from me. So that's the sort of speed you want to do, slower the better. So the drone now has only gone a matter of 44 meters away from me, and I'm down to 66% of battery power. So I'm just going to let that carry on until it completes the mission and it runs out of battery power, and then it's going to come back to me. I'll go home, and then I'll go through it with you on the main computer to show you exactly how to get the hyperlapse effect. Okay, so I'm back home now. You may have noticed that I messed up some of the videos that I took earlier because I shot the entire thing on the drone in slow motion as opposed to 4K at 24 frames a second. So the footage that I did actually take of the clouds moving was totally useless. So I've had to go out and do another one, which I've just done. So I've used up one battery and it took around about 10.5 minutes of footage. So I'm going to show you now how to edit that in DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so I brought the clip into DaVinci Resolve. So I'm going to select the actual clip and it's round about 10.5 minutes long. So the first thing we need to do is to change the speed of the clip. So I'm going to select Command R and that's going to bring up the speed change option. Now you can see if I move the cursor to the side, it changes to the 2 arrows. So I'm going to grab the side of the box and I'm going to bring that down as close to the end as I can. And you can see here that it's up to a speed change of 847%. So if I take that to the start of the timeline and I play it, you can see on the screen it's still not fast enough. So we're going to stop that, zoom in a little bit more. And again, we're going to bring it up quite far, so we're up to 3,300%. So go back to the start of the clip, play that. It's getting a bit better, but I think we can go a little bit faster. So we can take it up again to round about 4,000%. Just there. And if I play that, that's okay. Now it may appear a little bit jerky on your screen, but that's only because the age of my computer. If you've got a faster computer, it's going to run a lot smoother. So we just need to click on the export. And that's going to export the final file. Rename it. Now you do need to remember that the drone is not specifically built for time lapses. We're just trying to use one function that it's got, being the cruise control, to try and get the drone to do something else. So the results are not going to be absolutely perfect. You can improve on them if you've got more time by putting them through stabilization filters, that type of thing. But it will give you a basic idea of what you can do using the cruise control if you want to do some sort of hyperlapse or time lapse using the DJI Neo 2. Okay, that's it. If you did find it useful, if you could do the like, subscribe and the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. Hopefully I could get up to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you've got any questions in relation to this video or anything you want to see, drop me a line in the comments below. And if you've got any questions in relation to the DJI Mini 4 Pro, the Mini 5 Pro, the original Neo, the Neo 2, or the Hover X1 Pro or Pro Max, also let me know in the comments below. And I'll catch you again next time. Thanks very much. Bye.